doing graduate education is that your students are really professionals already in their own right. That's the reason why I took them, because those 3 courses where you were enrolled in, Elites in Politics, Geopolitics, and Regional Integration, they're really my 3 courses in the University of the Philippines in Diliman. And you really have enlivened the class and made more robust many of the discussions therein because of your scholarship. So I salute you. I salute you, Professor Cabral. And yes, and I think you're very lucky that you have a political scientist who is organizing this event. Why? Because Encanto is so soaked in the ways and the strategies of political organizing. This is not just organizing to win elections. This is really organizing for everyone to be a better citizen. The reason why our democracy works is that we know our responsibilities and we know our rights. And I'm very glad that Partido Federal is really at the forefront of doing all this. It should be a continuing activity, not only in preparation for elections, but this should just be a continuing activity for good citizenship. So don't take this as a one-off activity. Okay, what I have prepared for you today is something which I think every part of the country should be privy to. I'm sure things which are happening beyond our shores. The contested South China Sea is so well. So as your former National Security Advisor, I would like to start off a discussion, actually a conversation, because after I presented this brief presentation to you, I would like to converse with you and find out your views about what's happening in our country. All right, I titled this presentation as Rethinking Security. Why do we have to rethink security? Well, because before, when we talk of security, we were simply talking about militarism, meaning defense from an external force. But now, when we talk of security, we are talking about security of the individual. It means that, your security may be too far away, too distant from what is happening in the contested South China Sea. Your security is human security. Your security is about food. Your security is about health. And your security is about education and all other aspects of human security. That's the reason why I got a lot of criticisms when I started as National Security Advisor, because I viewed national security not solely from a military standpoint, but from the standpoint of the security of the individual, because that is what matters. What are you going to get if you win in all the wars, but the human being is not secure? That's the reason why human security should be at the bottom. Really, the security of each and every one of the 110 Filipinos. This does not diminish the military aspect of it. We'll simply say, if you have an array of priorities, then the individual comes first. The individual should be first in the reckoning of every other aspect of our governance. So, do we have a picker here for how to move this? Okay, so just move this as alright. Why are we drowning? Bakit tayo nalulunod? Sa pinag-aawayan natin karagatan. Ang tinatawag as South China Sea. Bakit lunod na lunod tayo? Halos araw-araw ang ating headline ay tungkol dito. Siguro namiin natin kung ano yung pinagmulan nitong pag-aawayan at pag-aagawan. Hindi lamang sa karagatan, not only a contest over the waters, but a contest over the airspace and over land. So why is each one claiming a piece of any of these territories? The waters, the land, and the airspace. So this is started, can you have the next bit? This is started during the age of exploration, when the countries which had the capability to really go overseas beyond their shores. And these are the 2 countries with the best shipbuilding industries, and they are Portugal and Spain. So they had a collision of claims, and the one who settled their claims was the Pope, the so-called Papal Bulls, and 1494 Treaty of Tordesillas, which for the first time divided our planet into two. So the world was divided, one planet was divided into two, one part for Portugal and the other part for Spain. This, I think, would be a turning point in the history of mankind because one planet was divided into two protagonists. And this has started now the contest on who should own the land, who should own the airspace, and who should own the sea. I'm sure you now know that we have migrated from this planet to another planet called Mars. So Mars will now be a new real estate to quarrel over, if at all we will make it habitable for humans. All right. After this, what happened? Can I have the next slide? Once upon a time in the past, there was no such concept as the nation state. There is no such concept as the Republic of the Philippines. There is no such concept as the United States of America. But the treaties of Australia, which ended the wars in Europe, started the concept of the nation state. And concomitant with that concept were two other principles which right now have become the scourge of mankind, meaning the sources of all conflicts. And these two principles are territoriality and sovereignty. Territoriality means that you are going to configure what part is what you own by means of latitudes and longitudes that you see in the globe. I'm sure you've done this in your general science. And sovereignty means, consists of two parts, internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. Internal sovereignty means that no one can meddle, can intrude into what we do within the confines of the Republic of the Philippines. No one can intrude into what we do within the confines of our republic, the archaeologic configuration of our territory. And external sovereignty means that no one, again, also should be able to tell us what to do, how to do things, because external sovereignty means that we are an autonomous entity. And that is the reason why the continuing contest in the South China Sea really intrudes into our sovereignty as well as our territoriality. Let us delve on this deeper. Can we have the next slide? Very often, when we talk about foreign policy, it seems to be like an alien concept, isn't it? But it is not alien at all, because foreign policy is really an extension of our domestic policy. So whatever it is that we configure, whatever it is that we craft and design in our domestic policy, which will have a foreign component, becomes foreign policy. So, the contest over the South China Sea, how many countries are contesting the South China Sea? 6 countries. 6 countries. And we're one of the 6 countries contesting the South China Sea. Each one is trying to carve the territory into 6 different parts so that the fish, for example, which spawns in our coastal waters, like in Palawan, they don't grow in Palawan because they have to grow in other places in the South China Sea where there is the ambient condition for them to grow. And that is where they are harvested by China. So, if you were a fish, I'm sure you'll become mentally ill because you're born somewhere, you grow up somewhere and become an adult, and you are eaten somewhere. You can see how absurd that situation is. Whenever we as scientists look for what the law of nature should be, then we pay attention to nature. And the fish is part of the law of nature. And the fish tells you that I am born in one geography, I grow up in another geography, and I am eaten in another, and harvested in another geography. I guess we can recall the conflict now between Canada and the South Pacific Islands in regard to one fish. It's called the salmon. Yun yung salmon. Saan po siya pinapanganak? Sa Canadian waters. Hindi siya doon lumalaki. Lumalaki siya at siya ay nagsuswim siya. Lumalaki siya papunta sa South Pacific kung saan siya doon ina-harvest. So nagtataka ng mga Canadians, sabi niya, bakit dito naman yung pinanganak sa Canada? Pero lumalaki siya sa ibang lugar. What do these two stories tell you? These two stories simply tell you that you cannot divide the waters. Because the species within these waters, they think of the waters as one body of water. That's the reason why, I'm jumping the gun now on the South China Sea issue. The only sector that may resolve and resolve successfully our contest in the South China Sea are the marine scientists. Why? Because it's the marine scientists who will deal with the ocean not as divided into 6 parts, but only as one ocean. And when you have one ocean, you have one ecology. In other words, all the species they're in, the fish, the sea plants and so on, they are all related to each other. And therefore, we should pay attention to the law of nature. Because the law of nature is really the law of science that we scientists are trying to investigate and to configure. So, why did I segue to foreign policy as an extension of domestic policy? Why is the South China Sea so integral to our life as a nation? Well, it's not so much because of the oil they're in, because we're moving goals. It's really about the fish. It's really about the resources they're in. Some scientists have already noted that the seabed, yung lupa sa pinakailalim noon, will contain minerals and will contain elements which can produce the most powerful antibiotics. Can you imagine? So have you ever thought of the sea related to your health? Yes, they are related to your health. Because if you can produce the most powerful medicines that will cure many of our illness and diseases, then that means that is the major resource that we're looking at. The fish is a major resource. Why did we then protest when China 2 days ago imposed a fishing ban? You know, I had discussed with Ambassador Wang Zhejiang, Ambassador of China here in the Philippines, and I told him, bakit ka na gano'n nag-impose ng ban sa sarili mo, unilateral? Bakit hindi mo kami tinanong? Because that means for 3 months, ang ating mangingisda ay hindi mangingisda. Pwede ba sabihin mo sa tiyan mo, huwag ka muna kakain ha, 3 months kasi may fishing ban. We are not against the fishing ban per se. What we're saying is that we should be part of decision making. That this should not just be China's fault. Huwag mong gawin ito kasi anin tayo nag-aagawan doon sa Kalagatan. And therefore, when you make such decisions, and you do not include us, then that means you have intruded into our sovereignty, our sovereign right to survive. Food security, isn't it? So you can relate it to human security. More on that, during the Q&A, if you want to ask more details about that. So can we go to the next slide, please? Next frame. Okay, I already mentioned this. Usually we think of foreign policy as going beyond our shores, but really it is just an extension of our domestic policy. So when we send foreign workers, let us say, to different countries in the world, that's an extension of our domestic policy because that means that the work, the professions that these people are serving in these various countries would be as a result of demand there, which demand cannot in fact or do not exist within the domestic sphere. So I want you to recast your mind, thinking of foreign policy as something so alien to us. It is simply an extension of domestic policy. Let's have the next frame, please. All right, Professor Tang mentioned earlier that one of the things that I have done is a study of presidents of the Republic. And these two are Presidents Ramon Magsaysay and President Ferdinand Edwin Marcos. They are really the subjects of my PhD dissertation. And so I think that boasting about it, those scholars who make assessments about the first Marcos regime or soak themselves in the literature of Ferdinand Etalin Marcos have no business making assessments about Ferdinand Etalin Marcos. So I always challenge them, kung kayo hindi nakapag-aral ng thousands of speeches of President Marcos and you immediately make an assessment about Marcos, 21 years of Marcos, then please shut up and see for your mouth. Because I think, before you make any assessment about anything for that matter, the moment you start your sentence with, I know, and you cannot defend your predicate, then that is what is called what? Disinformation. And when you disinform, then you do a lot of harm to so many people. Because you disinform and your disinformation will create more disinformation. And so I believe that I have the wherewithal to talk about President Etalin Marcos because I devoted a good part of 3 years writing my dissertation about him. And we have yet to find a scholar who will really do an assessment of 21 years of Marcos. So pagka nakamit po kayo, and this is not, to carry favor with the present administration, this is really a scholar talking to you that unless a group of scholars or one scholar does a very scientific assessment of 21 years of Marcos, no one else can make any conclusion about it. Any conclusion that you make about it will be baseless. In other words, if you challenge kita, bakit sinabi mo na ganito ito? Na masama na yung 21 years of Marcos, masama din naman sabihin mo, napakaganda ng 21 years, it will have to vary. Kasi, dalawa yung terms na and then there was the martial law. And like that. So, what am I telling you? I think you as leaders, local leaders, ang pinaka-importante, pinaka-sensitibong sentence mo na inyong babanggitin ay ang sentence na nag-uumpisa ng I know. Sapagkat kapag hindi nyo ma-defend yung susunod sa I know, then dapat po ay huwag nyo na sabihin I know. I'm sure na tandaan nyo kung sino yung presidente ng US na nagsabi niya, I know that there are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and therefore we shall invade Iraq. And you killed so many, both Iraqis and Americans. You looted the museums of Iraq, the cradle of civilization. And then, I'm sure you know kung sino yung presidente na yun, si George W. Bush. Sabi niya, ay mali. Can you imagine? But they went to the UN and said, we know there are weapons of mass destruction. Do you see how delicate and how dangerous a statement is when you say, I know? I like to use the example of the things which you usually say with I know. You say, I know I love you forever. I'm sure you've said that to 1,000 people. No? Now, what should I question about that I know I love you forever?